The clock on my dashboard read 2:17 a.m. The roads were deserted, the silence of the night stretching for miles. I was alone on the highway, heading home after a late shift at the warehouse. It wasn't much, but it paid the bills, and this drive had become a routine I was used to. No cars around, no street lights, just the occasional flicker of my headlights slicing through the darkness. The radio was playing low, a podcast about unsolved mysteries, nothing too unsettling, just enough to keep my mind occupied. I didn't like the quiet. The quiet made me think too much, and tonight, my mind was wandering to a place I didn't want it to go. The stretch of road ahead was long and winding, nothing but trees and the occasional dirt road branching off into the wilderness. A few miles up, there was a small town, but it was still far enough away that I could see nothing but open road. It was the kind of night that made you feel like you were the only person left on Earth, and in some ways, it felt like I was. I glanced at the rearview mirror, and for a second, I could have sworn I saw headlights behind me, just a faint glow, far off in the distance. Weird, there were no other cars on the road, but as I looked again, they were gone, as if they disappeared into the night. I shrugged it off. Maybe it was a reflection, or maybe my tired eyes were playing tricks on me. I took a deep breath, pushing the thought away and turned the volume up on the podcast. But that wasn't the only thing that caught my attention. The road, this long, endless stretch, had a way of messing with your head. It was like something about it wasn't quite right. The trees, the way they lined up, like they were watching me. The shadows they cast, dark and dense, seemed to shift whenever I wasn't looking directly at them. Focus, I muttered to myself. I tightened my grip on the wheel, trying to ignore the unease creeping into my mind. It wasn't much, just a little paranoia. I told myself, after all, it's just a late-night drive, nothing unusual. But then I saw something strange, off to the side of the road. At first, it looked like an abandoned car, just sitting there, its lights off, no signs, no markings, just an old, dusty vehicle that seemed out of place on a road like this. A chill ran down my spine. Why would a car be left in the middle of nowhere like this? There was no one around. The area was empty. I slowed down a bit, eyeing the car in my peripheral vision. As I passed by it, I couldn't help but glance at it one last time in my side mirror. That's when I saw the figure. A person, standing just outside the car. At least, I thought it was a person. They were too still, too silent, just standing there, in the dark, staring at the highway. There was something off about the way they were standing, like they weren't moving, weren't breathing. My heart skipped a beat. I thought I saw their eyes, hollow, black. I didn't stop. I couldn't. My foot pressed harder on the gas pedal, the sound of my engine humming louder, pushing away the anxiety in my chest. But I couldn't shake the image of that figure, staring at me, as I sped away. Another glance in the mirror. The car was gone. There was nothing there anymore. The road was empty. I let out a sigh of relief, trying to convince myself it was nothing. My imagination had gotten the better of me. Maybe it was just some weird reflection or a trick of the shadows. But the feeling didn't go away. It stuck with me, a nagging thought in the back of my mind. What if it wasn't my imagination? What if there was something more to it? I shook my head, trying to clear the thoughts, focus on the road. I muttered to myself again, but my grip on the wheel tightened, and the night seemed a little darker, a little more oppressive. And then I heard it. At first, it was faint, barely perceptible, like a whisper carried by the wind. I thought I was just hearing things, but then it came again, louder this time. A voice I didn't recognize. Help, help me. My blood ran cold. I glanced at the dashboard clock, 2:29 a.m. I was still a few miles away from the small town. The road was still empty. The voice, it had come from somewhere, but where? I couldn't tell. The air felt heavier now, thick with tension. My eyes darted around, scanning the dark landscape around me. There was nothing, no one, just a trick of the wind. I muttered, trying to rationalize it. But deep down, I knew it wasn't the wind. There was something wrong. My hands were sweating now, the tension building in my chest as I drove faster, the engine roaring louder. the voice came again, closer. Help me, please. I slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching against the asphalt as I came to an abrupt halt in the middle of the road. My pulse was pounding in my ears. I turned off the engine, trying to steady my breath. I had to figure out what was going on. I reached for my phone, hesitating for a moment before dialing the number of a friend, someone who lived nearby. But before I could press call, I heard it again. This time, the voice was right next to my car, as if someone was standing beside me, just out of sight. Help me, please, help. I turned sharply toward the sound, my eyes scanned the darkness, my heart racing. There was no one, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. In the stillness of the night, a new kind of fear settled into my bones. It wasn't just the voice, it wasn't just the dark road, it was something more, something I couldn't see, but could feel, something waiting for me, lurking just out of view. I didn't know it yet, but the real nightmare was just beginning. This story seems to be getting scarier, doesn't it? If you want more stories like this, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. This helps create even more scary for you. I sat in the car, staring into the blackness beyond my headlights, the silence almost suffocating. My pulse hammered in my chest, and my hands trembled slightly as I gripped the steering wheel. The voice was gone, but the eerie feeling remained, thick and heavy, pressing down on me. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. It's nothing, I whispered, just some random noise, maybe an animal or the wind, but my voice didn't sound convincing even to myself. Something was wrong, deep down, I knew it. The silence stretched on, broken only by the occasional rattle of the car. I checked the time, 2:42 a.m. The town was still a few miles away, but the road felt endless, stretching out before me like a dark tunnel with no end. It felt like the night was closing in, trapping me. I glanced at the rearview mirror again, half expecting to see something or someone behind me, but the road was empty, just like it had been for the past hour. The thought of the figure I'd seen earlier, standing by the abandoned car, flashed in my mind, the hollow eyes, the way they had seemed to stare through me. I couldn't shake it. My mind kept returning to it, replaying that moment over and over, as if the figure was still there, following me. Just drive, I muttered, forcing myself to focus on the road. But then it happened again, a flash of movement in the corner of my eye, a silhouette standing just beyond the reach of my headlights, just out of view. It was quick, too quick for me to fully process. My heart skipped a beat, and I slammed my foot on the brake, bringing the car to a screeching halt. I stared out into the dark, the engine idling, my breath coming faster. Nothing, just trees and the empty road. No figure, no movement. I shook my head, frustrated with myself. This was ridiculous. I was seeing things, the stress of the job, the isolation of the drive. It was all getting to me. It had to be. Get a grip, I told myself, taking a deep breath. But then, as if the night itself was mocking me, I heard it again, the voice, faint at first, but unmistakable. Help me, please. I froze, the hair on the back of my neck standing up. This time, I wasn't imagining it. The voice was real. I could feel it in my bones. It was close, too close. I turned to the side, eyes darting across the road, scanning for any signs of movement. There was nothing, just the same empty stretch of asphalt, the same dark trees lining the sides. I turned back to the rearview mirror, my heart pounding in my chest. And that's when I saw it. The car. It wasn't the same one from earlier. This one was much closer, a dark shape, parked just off the side of the road. The headlights were off, but the engine was running. There was no one in the driver's seat, but the passenger side, there was someone there. A figure, just sitting there, motionless, staring straight ahead. I felt my breath catch in my throat. It was the same thing as before, the same stillness, the same unnatural way they sat. But this time, it was different. This time, I was closer. I was right there, staring at the figure. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. I had to get out of here. I couldn't stay. I couldn't keep driving. not with that figure so close, not with that voice still echoing in my mind. I didn't even think about it. My foot slammed down on the gas pedal, and the car lurched forward, tires screeching as I sped away. The figure in the car was still there in my rearview mirror, motionless, a black silhouette against the dark landscape. The road seemed to stretch on forever. The further I drove, the more I felt like I was trapped in some kind of loop. The trees blurred past, their shadows twisting in the headlights, the dark road stretching endlessly before me. It felt like the same stretch of road, over and over again. I glanced at the clock again, 2:59 a.m. I was still miles away from the town, and yet, it felt like I'd been driving for hours. The landscape hadn't changed, the trees were still the same, the road, the same. Was I going in circles? I tried to shake off the thought, but the unease grew with every passing minute. The feeling that I wasn't alone, the sensation that something was watching me, the voice, the figure by the road, the car that had followed me. None of it made sense, but I couldn't ignore it. It was all too real. Then, suddenly, something caught my eye. A sign, a road sign, one I hadn't seen before. I slammed on the brakes, slowing the car to a crawl. I leaned forward, squinting into the darkness. The sign was barely visible, almost faded, as though it had been there for years, but the words were clear. "Welcome to Maple Ridge." I blinked, confused. Maple Ridge? That wasn't the name of the town I was headed to. I didn't recognize it at all. I had been driving for over an hour, and this wasn't right. This wasn't the town I was supposed to reach. I looked around, my eyes wide, searching for any familiar landmarks, but there was nothing, just the same endless road, the same dark trees, the same unbroken silence. I had passed this sign. I had to have passed this sign. I was sure of it. But now, I couldn't remember how long it had been there, or when I had even first seen it. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I was lost. I wasn't just lost on some random road. I was lost in a place that shouldn't exist, a place that had changed around me without me noticing. And the voice came again, but this time, it was louder, clearer. "Help me, please, help." I looked in the rearview mirror again, and that's when I saw it. The figure. Not in the car by the side of the road this time. No, it was standing in the middle of the highway, directly in my path, just standing there, motionless, its hollow eyes staring right at me. I slammed on the brakes again, the car skidding to a halt, and I gripped the wheel, trying to steady my shaking hands. The figure didn't move, didn't flinch. I was frozen, my eyes locked on the figure in the dark. And then, just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. Gone, like smoke. I sat there, breathless, unable to move. The only sound was my pounding heartbeat. I couldn't even bring myself to turn the car around. I was too afraid to drive forward, but I was too terrified to stop. And then, as if the night itself had decided to toy with me, my headlights flickered. I stared at the flickering headlights, feeling the tension building in my chest, the weight of dread pressing against me. The figure had disappeared, but the fear didn't. It clung to me, gnawing at the edges of my mind. I couldn't get rid of the feeling that something was terribly wrong, that I was on a road I shouldn't be on, in a place that didn't exist. The headlights blinked out completely, and suddenly, the car was bathed in complete darkness. For a split second, everything felt suffocating, like I was trapped in a void, unable to move or breathe. My heart raced, and I fumbled for the switch, desperate to turn the headlights back on. I turned the key, but the engine didn't respond. The car was dead. I gripped the wheel tighter, panic surging through me. The night outside seemed to close in even more. The road stretched endlessly in both directions, and the silence was deafening. "What the hell?" I whispered to myself, my breath shaky. I tried again, turning the key harder. Nothing. The engine wouldn't turn over. "Please, please," I muttered, my hands shaking. "Come on." And then, out of nowhere, the headlights flickered back on, casting an eerie, ghostly light across the road. I let out a shaky breath of relief, but it was short-lived. The relief was quickly replaced with an overwhelming sense of dread. I looked around. my eyes scanning the road ahead. The car was still there, the figure, too. It was standing in the middle of the highway again, but this time, it wasn't just a shadowy silhouette. No, this time, I could see it clearly. It was tall, impossibly tall, almost unnaturally so. Its face was obscured, just a black void where eyes should have been. The figure didn't move, didn't flinch, just stood there, blocking my way. I was frozen, my foot pressed against the brake, but I couldn't bring myself to stop the car. I wasn't sure if I should drive through it or turn around and flee, but the feeling of being trapped, stuck in this dark stretch of road, kept me from making any decisions. I could feel my heart pounding in my throat, my palms sweaty on the steering wheel. Just drive past it, just keep going, I told myself, but my body wasn't responding. I couldn't move, I couldn't think. The air felt heavier now, suffocating, pressing in on me from all sides. The figure, whatever it was, didn't speak, didn't make a sound, just stood there, blocking my path. And yet, I could feel it watching me. I could feel its presence, its cold, empty gaze. The wind picked up, howling through the trees on either side of the road. The rustling of the leaves sounded distant, like a whisper coming from far away, a whisper that felt wrong, that felt like it was meant for me. I snapped back to reality, my eyes wide with panic. This wasn't just some hallucination. This wasn't just my mind playing tricks on me. Whatever was happening, whatever was here, was real. I slammed my foot down on the gas pedal, jerking the car forward. My heart was in my throat as I sped toward the figure, my eyes fixed on it. But just before I hit it, the figure disappeared, vanishing into the darkness without a trace. I swerved to the side, my tires screeching as I veered off the road, barely avoiding crashing into the trees. I slammed my foot on the brake, bringing the car to a stop just inches from the edge of the forest. I sat there for a moment, my hands still gripping the wheel tightly, my body frozen in fear. I could feel my pulse in my ears, pounding like a drum. My breath came in shallow gasps as I tried to process what had just happened. The figure had vanished, but the terror remained. It lingered in the air, thick and oppressive. I looked around, still scanning the road, the trees, the darkness that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. There was nothing, no sign of movement, no figure in sight. The road was as empty as it had been before, but the unease was still there, the sensation that I wasn't alone. And then, I heard it again. The voice. Help me, please. It wasn't a whisper this time. It was clear, louder, closer. It came from behind me, from the back seat of the car. I froze, my heart stopped. I didn't dare turn around. I couldn't bring myself to look. I knew what I'd find. Slowly, carefully, I reached for the rearview mirror, my hands trembling. The reflection in the mirror was enough to send a jolt of terror through me. There, sitting in the back seat, was the figure. Its face, hollow and black, was inches from mine. Its eyes, or what should have been eyes, were empty voids, staring directly at me. I gasped, my body jerking back as I tried to scramble away from the mirror. I didn't even look forward. I couldn't. I was paralyzed with fear. My breath caught in my throat. My skin crawled. The figure didn't speak. It didn't need to. Its presence alone was enough to crush me. I could feel its cold, empty gaze boring into me, suffocating me. I wanted to scream, to run, to get out of the car and just leave this nightmare behind. But I couldn't move. I couldn't think. And then, as if it were playing with me, the figure in the back seat disappeared, vanishing as quickly as it had come, just like before. I could hardly believe what had just happened. My body was trembling, my heart racing in my chest. I didn't know what was real anymore. Was any of this real, or was I losing my mind? I glanced at the clock. It was 3:17 a.m. I hadn't been driving for long, but it felt like hours. Time was moving differently here. The road was endless. The night was endless. It was like I had been trapped in this strange loop, and there was no escape. I glanced back at the road, still too afraid to look in the rearview mirror again. I was done. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get out of here. I had to leave this place. But no matter how hard I tried to drive, No matter how fast I went, the road never seemed to end, it just kept going, and the voice, the same voice, came again. "Help me." The voice echoed in my mind, haunting and persistent. "Help me." It felt like the words were carved into the air around me, following me, growing louder with every second. I couldn't escape it. The night had swallowed me whole, and now it seemed to be dragging me deeper into something I didn't understand. I pushed my foot down harder on the accelerator, the car speeding forward, yet the road ahead remained unchanged. No turns. No exits. No signs of civilization. Just endless highway, trees, and that oppressive blackness pressing in from every side. I was sure I had passed that same sign, "Welcome to Maple Ridge," at least 5 times now, but there was no way to be sure. The landscape never changed. The trees stayed the same, their branches like dark, twisted arms reaching for me. And the road, the damn road, stretched on forever. I wasn't just lost anymore. I was trapped. And the longer I drove, the more I felt it. The more the fear wrapped itself around me, suffocating every breath I took. "Please, help me." The voice was still there, low and desperate, coming from the back seat again. This time, it was louder, sharper. I didn't want to look. I couldn't look. But my mind wasn't my own anymore. I was being controlled by something else, something darker. Something that had a hold on me. The air in the car grew colder, and I shivered, goosebumps spreading over my arms. I had to get out. I had to find some way out of this never-ending loop. I glanced at the clock again, 3:39 a.m. The minutes seemed to stretch out forever. I hadn't seen a single car since the one by the side of the road, the one with the figure staring at me. And that was hours ago. Hours, or had it been days? I couldn't tell anymore. The night had blurred together, time twisting and bending in a way that felt unnatural. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it again. Another figure. Standing by the side of the road, watching me. I slammed my foot on the brake, skidding to a stop, heart leaping into my throat. My hands gripped the wheel so tightly that my knuckles were white. I didn't know why I stopped. I didn't know why I couldn't just keep driving. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to stop. That somehow, this was the only way out. I looked to the side, and there it was. The figure was standing just off the road, much like the others. Tall, dark, unmoving, its face hidden in shadow. But this time, there was something different. There was a faint glow, a pale, sickly light coming from where the figure's eyes should have been. It was as if the night itself was alive, feeding off the fear, feeding off my terror. The voice spoke again, but it wasn't in the back seat this time. It came from the figure by the side of the road. "Help me," it whispered. And this time, it wasn't just a plea. There was something else in its tone, something dark, something sinister. A promise. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. Then, like a nightmare I couldn't wake from, the figure stepped into the road. It was so fast, so unnatural, its movements jerky and wrong. My foot instinctively pressed harder on the brake, but I couldn't look away. My eyes were fixed on the figure as it moved toward me, its body stretching and distorting as if it didn't belong to this world. Suddenly, the figure reached out with long, twisted arms. I could feel it reaching for me, its fingers elongated and skeletal, as if they were going to grab me, pull me into the darkness. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. My body felt paralyzed, my mind screaming at me to run, to do anything, but I was trapped. It reached the car, its fingers brushing against the glass. The moment it touched it, a chilling cold shot through my chest, like ice flowing through my veins. A vision flashed before my eyes, pictures, memories, fragments of things I didn't understand. The road. The figures. A place that wasn't real. The voice. The promise. Help me." It came again, but this time, it wasn't a plea. It was an order. A command. I was frozen in place, but a strange force seemed to pull me forward. Without thinking, my hand reached for the door handle. "Don't open it." I screamed at myself, but the words were trapped in my throat. It was too late. The door opened with a soft click. I stepped out into the cold night air, my legs unsteady beneath me, my body trembling. I couldn't fight it anymore. The road had claimed me, and now I was part of it. I could feel it, feel the coldness seep into my bones, feel the darkness swallowing me whole. The figure stood before me, no longer hidden in shadow. I could see it clearly now. It wasn't human. It wasn't even something that could be called a creature. It was a thing, an entity, something that belonged to the night itself. Its face was an abyss, nothing but an empty, endless void where a face should have been. Its eyes, or the lack of them, stared into mine, and I felt my soul trembling. "You're mine now," it whispered, its voice like 1,000 voices, all crying out in unison. I wanted to scream, to run, but I couldn't. My body was no longer my own. I had become part of the night, part of the road, part of the endless cycle that would never end. My skin was cold, my heart no longer beat. I was just there. A passenger on the road that never ends. And then, as if the night had granted me a final, fleeting moment of clarity, I realized what had happened. The road didn't lead anywhere. It didn't have an end. It wasn't meant to. This was the road that trapped you. The road that kept you. The road that made sure you would never escape. The night was endless. The voices would never stop. The figures would never leave. And as the darkness closed in, I knew I would never get out. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts on this terrifying story, and subscribe for more spine-chilling horror tales.